All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and joining us now is the founder and editor of the Weekly Standard, ABC News contributor, Bill Kristol. Mr. Kristol, always great to speak to you. How are you?
Great. I'm fine. How are you?
Good, good, good. The weather's warm. Everything's good. Let's talk a little bit about what's not good for Barack Obama. I don't know if he cares or not, but there's a big absence at the Gulf Summit in Washington. A bunch of countries aren't showing up, but most prominently, Saudi Arabia not showing up. And of course, they say it's a scheduling conflict, and the White House doesn't view it as a snub, and Saudi Arabia says it's not a snub. What do you say?
Well, I guess they're sending their foreign minister or someone.
Yeah.
But it's pretty extraordinary. I mean, for a president to convene a group at Camp David, and obviously those things are arranged in advance. It's not like there are any real scheduling conflicts. And for the king of a major ally to choose not to come, I don't have a very high opinion of the Saudis ordinarily, but it's not defending them or siding with them. Just to say objectively, what this shows is a lack of respect, a lack of sense that they need to take President Obama seriously, or frankly, they even want to hear what he has to say. They're so upset about the Iran deal. And I guess they just announced a couple hours ago, I'm a little unclear on this, Secretary Kerry is going to Sochi, to Russia, and had expected, they announced yesterday when they announced the trip, that he was going to meet with Putin. And now Putin's saying, well, maybe I'll just send my foreign minister. So, you know, these kinds of things are stupid in one level, and who cares, and it's just diplomacy. But people around the world see this, and it has a real effect on America's standing, and other people decide, geez, I mean, if these other countries don't think much of Obama, I guess we don't have to take his word very seriously, and our enemies get emboldened, and our friends get demoralized.
Yeah, no, and do you see a connection? I mean, I could see Putin saying, oh, the king of Saudi Arabia is sending a surrogate. Hey, guess what? We'll do the same for Kerry.
Totally, and why should he go out of his way? And you know, he's always happy to rub our nose in it a little bit and try to intimidate us a little. It's where, you know, this is where the stuff in foreign policy can just go. It can really snowball. You start to go on a downhill slope, and people, you know, lose. They don't fear you. They don't respect you. They don't trust you. Your guarantees aren't worth much. And suddenly, you know, it's not like it just goes step by step. It starts off kind of slow because we have a big residue of moral authority and really a power, you know, authority that's come from our actions over the last decade.
Yep.
But once it starts to erode, I'm afraid it can erode quickly, and that's what scares me the most about the next 18, 19 months, or however long we have President Obama still in office. I mean, it could be pretty bad by the time the next president takes over.
It certainly can. Let's talk about domestic politics. I want you to hear Chuck Todd starting out his interview with Carly Fiorina on Meet the Press yesterday. Let's watch.
You've seen this website, carlyfiorina.org, and a person there sits there and he says, you failed to register this domain, so I'm using it to tell how many people lost their jobs while you were CEO, and it's an emoticon of sad faces there, 30,000 people. Then it has a quote from you, which I know is taken out of context. It had to do with people you fired as executives, but it says here, I would have done them all faster. Do you have regrets about those?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, do you have regrets about those statements is what he was going to say there. Bill, I mean, then when she tried to answer, and I thought answered quite admirably, in response, he said, well, why did they fire you then? I mean, he just went after her with a vengeance.
Yeah, I think they're a little scared of her. You know, she's had a really good run the last 2-3 months. She's very well-spoken and tough-minded and tough, and, of course, as a woman, maybe it shouldn't be this way, but it often is, she probably has a little more latitude to criticize Hillary Clinton without running any foul of, you know, political correctness and charges of sexism and the like. So they're a little worried about her, I think, being on the stage for the next 6 months and doing well. And so that's the kind of treatment you get. It is amazing, the media, how just unembarrassed they are about their bias, really. And, you know, it's interesting, in the elections in Britain, the Conservatives outperformed the polls by quite a lot, obviously. In Israel, Netanyahu outperformed the polls 2 months ago by quite a lot. And actually in November, people forget this, in November of 2014, last year, the Republicans did very well, much better. People thought it was going to be neck and neck. Would they pick up 6 seats? And then they got 9. And it makes me wonder whether an awful lot of voters now don't resent the liberal media. They're a little intimidated sometimes by the political correctness. Some pollster calls them on the phone, and they decide they're not going to say who they're voting for, if they're voting Republican or Likud or Tory in Britain. But you know, I wonder if there's a bit of a hidden now conservative sentiment out there in the country that doesn't show up in the polls, but that incidents like this really intensify.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And Huckabee, Bob Schieffer went after Huckabee for Huckabee's commercials for a diabetes remedy or something, and then that was the topic of discussion on the panel. I mean, you know, my goodness, talk about the issues.
Well, is that compared to the Clinton Foundation? I mean, I love it. Again, you can. I'm not particularly. I'm unlikely, I think, to vote for Huckabee or for Christie in
Right.
Virginia, where I vote. But honestly, the amount of fuss they've made over Christie, and you know, the bills he paid. I mean, he paid them as governor, or Huckabee and whatever he's done compared to the Clinton Foundation.
Yep.
And what is the scale of offense? Secretary of State of the United States, people giving millions of dollars to a foundation. Run by her husband in return, you know, apparently trying to influence government policy.
No comparison, Bill, and it's just sad, as you pointed out correctly before. Bill, thank you. Always great to talk to you, sir.
Hey, my pleasure, Steve.
All right. Richard Pearl's next, folks. Don't go away.